this recipe because we're going to be making homemade pretzel bites. Now I know pretzel bites seems like, or sounds like it would be kind of a really difficult and confusing thing to make. It's actually not that difficult. All you need is basic cooking skills, and that's all you need to make this. Believe it or not, we will be using both the oven and the stovetop. We'll be boiling water, and we'll be putting baking soda in there. Putting baking soda in the water might cause it to overflow because we have to boil the baking bites, the pretzel bites, before we bake them. So make sure you have your parents' permission and your parents' help before messing with the oven or the stove, because I do not want anyone to get hurt or burned. Let's go and get started. I did go ahead and do a few small prep things before doing this. I warmed my water, and I also melted the butter that we're going to be using here soon, simply because I needed to use my microwave, and it was just easier to go ahead and do so. I'm also going to go ahead and set my oven to 250 degrees. And the reason I'm doing this is because in order to bake pretzel bites, before we have to bake them, we first need them to prove, which basically we need the dough to rise, and dough rises best when it's in a warm place. So I am setting my oven to 250 degrees. I'm gonna let it get there and let it get ready, and then I'm gonna turn my oven off so it will slowly cool down. So by the time I put my dough in there for it to prove, it should still be a warm place, but not crazy hot, for the dough to sit there and rise, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. I do have my instructions with me. I'll be looking at frequently during this process just to make sure I don't mess it up. First we need 1.5 cups of warm water. I filled 1.5 cups of a microwave safety dish of warm water, and I warmed it up for 1 minute and 30 seconds. You can decide however warm you need. Your parents can decide, help you figure out how long to microwave the water for it to get warm for you. But mine was 130 seconds. It's still nice and hot and warm. Next, I'm going to get my sugar here, and I'm going to put in a tablespoon of sugar into the water. I'm going to let that mix up here a little bit. Mix in my sugar and water. Okay. Next, I have 1/4 of an ounce of active dry yeast is what I'm going to use. I got these at Walmart. The ones I got at Walmart came in a packet of 3, or no, it was 4. I can't actually remember at this point. But anyway, but your parents, just tell your parents you need 1/4 of an ounce, usually this whole packet of active dry yeast. So we're going to put this in here. Oh, and I also need to put in 2 teaspoons of salt. And now we're going to let this stand for 5 minutes. So I'm going to put this over here to the side. And I'm going to let it sit there and do what it wants to do for 5 minutes. What is happening is the yeast, we are preparing that mixture because we're going to pour that mixture into our dough. And the yeast in that mixture is going to help it rise. And yeast needs to be warm, needs to be in a warm place, needs to use warm water in order for it to rise. So I already have 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of melted butter in here. I went ahead and melted the butter. There's my oven. So let's go ahead. I'll leave it on for a few minutes and then I'll turn it off. I went ahead and melted the butter because I needed to put the water into my microwave safe glass that I just used. So I went ahead and melted the butter beforehand. So I have 4 tablespoons of melted butter in here. Next, I need to add in 4.5 cups of flour. So let me get my flour out. Like I said, we need 4.5 cups of flour. And flour goes everywhere, so you might want to get your parents' help for doing this part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Four and a half. There it goes. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna plain flour everywhere as well, apparently. Okay. So, then we're going to mix this up. Now, if your parents have a bread making machine, they will know what to do here. They'll know how to use a dough hook and to mix this up really well until the butter is mixed up in here. If you don't, then you can do what I'm doing right here and just making sure that our butter is mixed in well. But it shouldn't take that long because we have a lot of flour and only 4 tablespoons of butter. So yeah, I think it's actually mixed in. All right, so now this is mixed in. I'll be back at the end of 5 minutes to pour in our yeast mixture. All right, so it's been 5 minutes. I have mixed in my 4 tablespoons of butter with 4.5 cups of flour. And I have also let my yeast mixture mix in here. As I said before, it's 1.5 cups of warm water, 1/4 ounce of yeast, a tablespoon of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. You'll know when your yeast is ready when it gets frothy and bubbly on top, which it is right now. So I'm going to very gently mix this in here, let the yeast mix in here. Okay. And now I'm going to pour this in, just like that. And once again, I'm going to kind of mix this in here. I'm going to start kneading it here in a few minutes. Now, kneading dough is similar. If you watched the video that we did on making Pop-Tarts a couple of months ago, you'll know that by kneading dough, I mean that basically we're going to be working this dough until it forms into a natural ball. I think it's almost ready for me to start kneading here. Just letting some of the ingredients kind of soak up each other for a few minutes here. And kneading just kind of lets it work the dough in a way that lets all the ingredients mix in really well together. And it kind of prepares the dough for baking. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my flour real quick because it's probably gonna be sticky and I'm probably gonna need flour to help me out. So to knead this, I'm gonna knead it in the bowl. I'm not gonna take it out of the bowl. What's kind of great about this recipe is honestly, we're done with the ingredients. All the ingredients that we need are right here. This is the only bowl we're gonna be using besides our microwave safe container measuring cup that we just used for the yeast mixture. But we're going to knead this into the bowl, and we're going to be kneading this. If your parents are using a bread machine, they'll be kneading it for 5 minutes. This, we'll just need to knead it for about 5 to 7 minutes with our hands, and it's until we want the dough to pull away from the sides of the bowl, and it's going to kind of form into this natural ball. So what I'm doing right now is I'm not really kneading it yet. I'm kind of getting all these ingredients to the bottom to mix in well together. And once all my ingredients are really getting in there and mixed well together, then, like they are now we will start kneading it. And to knead things, it's just simply just kind of working the dough, just kind of like you would if it was molding clay. If you're making kind of an object out of molding clay, you're gonna roll into a ball, you're gonna flatten it, you're gonna pull parts of it, you're gonna push other parts in. You really just kind of like as if you're trying to get the clay soft enough for you to mold with. Similar to here, but in this instance, we want the bread, our dough, to be well mixed in with all of our ingredients. So dough is now kneaded, so now we're gonna go on to the next step. All right, so for our next step, I have my dough, which is formed to a ball, and I'm gonna take some oil, and I'm gonna pour just a little bit of oil into this bowl here. And I'm going to kind of rub it using a paper towel. I'm gonna rub the sides and the bottom of the bowl with oil so that it's nice and slick. Why? Well, because I'm about to put my dough in here like that, and I'm going to cover it with a towel, and I'm going to let it sit in the oven for an hour because it's going to proof. Proofing means that the dough is going to sit in a warm place and it's going to rise. Obviously, I changed bowls because the glass bowl is safe for the oven, whereas I do not feel comfortable putting in my plastic bowl in the oven. I do not want to cause a fire. So make sure before you put anything into the oven that your parents approve it and that it is a safe item to put in the oven. Also, my oven is not on. I turned it on 250, I turned it off, so this would be perfectly fine to put in there, but still make sure. And actually, you know what? I'm going to change plans. I'm actually going to do a little bit of oil here instead of a towel. Even though the towel should be safe in there, I'm just going to do a little foil just in case. So we're going to stick this in here. And our dough is going to stay in the oven. Proof it for about 1 hour. Like I said, my oven is off. It's just a nice warm place for the yeast to do its thing. So I'll see you guys in an hour. All right, so my dough has proofed, and as you can see, it is definitely risen. This is, generally about as high as you want to make it. Usually the rule of thumb when it comes to proving bread is you want to be double the size that it is, that it was before, or for the amount of time that you're supposed to prove it for. So clearly, this is good to go. So let's get this out of the bowl. And making my knife over here, we're going to cut the sucker into 8 sections. So doesn't have to be like exact sections, really. Just kind of cut it into, sections. 1, 2. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just like that. And we have 8 individual sections. Now from here, if you want, you can roll each section out so it's a long skinny snake, about maybe 20 inches each one, and then twist it into an actual pretzel shape if you want to. I am not going to. I'm just going to chop them up into bite-sized pieces. Really, technically from here, you can make any shapes. If you don't want to do classic pretzel shapes, don't do classic pretzel shapes. Make your own shape. Make a person. Make a pretzel person, which would be kind of cool if I think about it. Have fun with the dough. Make a bunch of different shapes. Make a whole farm. Make a whole family if you want to. All that jazz. But for now, I'm going to stick with the general shape, with general pretzel bites. I'm going to roll each section out very gently because, as you will find out, that dough is very easy to smush. And so I don't really want them. I want them to be nice and thick. Also, I already have my stovetop on. I have 8 cups of water in there, and I have the stovetop on so that it will bring it to a boil here in a few minutes. And when it's done and it's boiled, I'm going to put in a 4th cup of baking soda. So, just bite. I've also already had my oven on to bake. It is on 450 degrees. Because obviously at the end, we've still got to actually bake the pretzel bites. That'd be helpful. bites cut up and ready to go. What's going to happen is when my water is ready to boil, I'm going to, first of all, bring 8 cups of water to boil. Then I'm going to lower the temperature down so it's just simmering. Then I'm going to toss in a 1/4 cup of baking soda. Once that's dissolved, I will then toss in these pretzel bites into the baking soda water mixture. Let it boil for about 30 seconds on each side. And then I will come back and I will show you guys the last step of this process. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Alright, so I have my pretzel bites. I boiled them in the water. Like I said, it was 8 cups of water. Bring it to a boil, then lower the temperature so it's simmering. Throw in a 1/4 cup of baking soda, let that dissolve, and then put in each of the pretzel bites. Let it boil in there for about 30 seconds, breaking them out. I have them on both my trays now, ready to go to bacon. But before I bake them in the oven, I'm going to kind of spoon over, or if you have a brush, that'd be even better, but I don't have a brush, with this egg wash. It is an egg yolk, not the whole egg, just the egg yolk, and a tablespoon of water. So mix it in there, and I'm just gonna kind of like the spoon over there all the pretzel bites so that I can kind of, and this is really just gonna let it kind of get that really nice brown look, finished brown look that we like to see our pretzels on at the very end. And so now that I have my egg wash over all the pretzel bites, I'm just going to sprinkle them with salt. You should be using kosher salt, or your parents know even kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt, just use normal salt like I'm doing, because I don't actually have kosher salt. So I'm just going to sprinkle this on them. And you can sprinkle them however salty you want your pretzels to be. Hopefully it's not too salty, because I can't really tell. But next, you're going to finally bake the pretzels in the oven. It's going to be baked at 450 degrees, and you're going to bake them for 12 to 15 minutes or until they're golden brown. So, and that's pretty much all you have to do. So I will see you guys in 12 to 15 minutes. All right, so my pretzel bites got done right about 14-15 minutes, so yours should be good to go after that. As you can see, we have pretzel bites. I had one and it's quite delicious, I'm not gonna lie. But you guys are welcome to try this recipe. Try making your own sauces that you want to go with the pretzel bites. You can even ask your parents' help to maybe find put things inside the pretzel bites. You guys can take this recipe and do whatever you want with it. Share it with friends. Use it as a tasty after school snack, whatever you guys want. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this kids cooking class, and I will see you guys later. Bye everyone.